Hey guys, I hope you're having a good day, a good night, everything like that in between. Over the last couple days, we've been doing live streams reacting to new Linux users and basically doing a lot of misinformation correction. We had, honestly, one of the worst Linux videos that I think I've ever seen from a new user on Earth. He basically he went to all the wrong places for information, did all the wrong stuff possible, and put in zero effort to learn anything. And it was really sad to watch, and it was really, really hard to watch him basically do anything. And I think we've all collectively in that live stream come up with a little bit of advice that we would want to give to the new users of Linux. Okay, let me just adjust this real quick. So the first thing is, if you're coming from Windows, you need to leave Windows at the door. You need to come in with zero expectations, none. You need to come in with an open mind. You need to walk through the door of Linux willing and ready to learn, not from Reddit. Reddit is the most dog puke garbage place imaginable, filled with the lowest IQ individuals you will ever find. No. You see, here's some things. We're going to just put me back up here, and I'm going to float down here. Okay? If you go to the internet, all right, and you enter in a Google, all right, Google's great, and you type Arch Wiki. See this? This is the Arch Wiki. It's fantastic. It has everything you'll ever want to know about Linux, and Linux in general, period. There's also a lot to know about Arch. Here's the other cool part. If we also go to Google and we type in CachyOS Wiki, you'll also find a wiki for CachyOS, which again has amazing information. And then if you go to Nobara, okay, and you go to their wiki, here's the best part. You'll get to know everything there is to know about Nobara, and you'll learn a lot about how to update your system, upgrade packages, everything. Are we streaming the wrong monitor? What the hell is going on? DisplayPort. What? Okay, as I said, Arch Wiki, CachyOS Wiki, Nobara Wiki. Right here, this covers Arch Linux. This covers Arch Linux plus some. It teaches you a lot of things about optimization, what CachyOS is, what it does. This could teach you a ton about Fedora and about the Nobara system, about everything that you could get into OBS, DaVinci's Resolve. It's all here, and it's all absolutely amazing advice. And it's written by the community for the community, using the channel in the Discord as a general knowledge base, and it's constantly updated, which is great. And then if you get really stuck, you could do yourself a favor. Don't ask ChatGPT, it's garbage. But you can ask things like Copilot and Gemini how to do certain things. Like, how do I see what NVIDIA GPU or driver I have on Linux? You enter the query. It comes up with your answer. Eventually. There it goes. It will give you some useless videos, okay? But it will also tell you the commands that you could do. Here, look. There's just so many of them. AI, when asked the right questions, will give you the right answers. When you ask it in specific on detailed questions, you'll get the wrong answers and could screw up your system. Like Copilot today helped me build this. Right here. Just give it a second to load. I still have to enable asynchronization loading. But as you can see, I have the full information of my 4070, my 9070 XT. It's an XT, I just have to fix that one bug. You can see how much memory I'm using, my CPU, the temperatures, the cores, the threads are down here. Like, all this information is given to me by the system. Now, I had to figure out how to get it out of the system and into this. This is built entirely out of Quick Shell using bash commands and other things like this. So it's pretty interesting how all of this works and functions. Now, I've not cleaned it up, I'm not done with it, but that's the thing. You ask the right questions, you will get the right answers. You have to be detailed when asking them. You can't just go, what kernel into Google, you won't really get an answer. You can search, how do I tell which kernel I'm running and if it's good for my CPU? And then you put, I'm on Arch Linux. It'll tell you. And then it will probably give you a command such as this one. uname -r. There you go. Now you know what kernel you're on. And if you're on CachyOS, Pikaos, or Nobara, you're using the CachyOS kernel, which is pretty cool. Another thing you can do is if you're interested in a command and all the things it does, it could print out all information for you, such as this. There you go. There you go. Isn't that interesting? It could give you your processor if it needs to. What was that? -P? Unknown. Ooh, it's not a very good one. It can give you your operating system. It's not a very good tool, but you get the point. Now, there's other things you could do to completely tell which distro you're on by doing what's called a fast fetch, which essentially just puts all your information out there right in front of you. Look at it all. Isn't that wonderful? Yeah. Going to Reddit is basically like cutting off your leg and expecting to still be able to walk. And that's not what you want to do. There are people like me who will give you all the information you need to get started with Linux. We have an entire Discord full of things. Yes, this is where I end up whoring myself out here a bit. This is called Linux Tips and Tricks. This is an all-in-one area for everything you'll ever need to know generally about Linux. I haven't updated it in a while or added much to it, but most of the stuff that's still here is very, very relevant and still works. As you can see, there's a lot. This is basically my wiki. And my wiki is written by me and other individuals too, which I find super cool and very welcome. Now, again, I expect you, if you come into my Discord, to follow the rules. They're not Nazi rules, don't worry. They're just rules that are written with common sense. Like, if you're in a support channel, you're there to ask for support, you're there for give support, you're not there to post memes or gifs or anything like that and be a 2-year-old. So, yeah, and rules, that's it. There used to be 21, but, you know, I cleaned it up, I condensed everything, and made everything fit better. Because we had this one bad individual who ruined it for the rest of us, and... oh, actually, 2 individuals. So, I just slimmed it all down. There we go. So, there's endless amounts of ways to get information. Arch Wiki, CachyOS Wiki. There's also a Pikaos Wiki, which basically gives you information about Pikaos, Debian, stuff like that. You can also head into the Nobara Discord. They have Arch Linux channels, Fedora channels, and a whole bunch of other channels that you could ask for support questions in. CachyOS has their own Discord as well. Pikaos has their own Discord. There's lots of places you can go to learn. And just make sure that you're learning. Again, leave your baggage at the door. Windows has nothing to do with Linux. Okay? Why? This is the hand command to make it follow me. Right? But I didn't do it. I did this. So, no, now it's stuck like this. Great. Having an AI smart camera was the worst decision ever. It really was. Now, people always ask me, what do you recommend? What do you recommend for a new Linux user? Nobara, Pikaos 4, and CachyOS. Do I recommend Linux Mint? No, I do not. I would rather lose my tongue than ever recommend Linux Mint to a new beginner who is just using Linux, for the reason that you will gain the most minimal amount of information possible from that distro. You will be put in a situation where you're almost a year or more out of date. Your hardware will suffer, your security will suffer, and you're not getting the best of Linux. Okay, you're just not. It's not a good starting point for anyone. Just like Ubuntu, but it's getting better. Ubuntu is no longer a good place to be due to the fact that it uses snaps. You get rid of the snaps come back. Snaps are really horrible, slow packaging that basically containerize everything. And everything is a snap, and it's not a good decision by Canonical to do this. This is Canonical being lazy. Flatpaks are the same thing. But Flatpaks, they're fast, they're efficient, they work. I do not recommend using them for gaming whatsoever. I do not recommend them for video editing whatsoever. I can't do it. Here, I teach you how to do everything by hand so that you learn as much as possible. It's as simple as that. I actually make sure you learn something. And if you're willing to, again, you come into Linux leaving Windows completely behind in your mind, in your heart, and in your soul. Because at one point in time, you had to learn Windows. You didn't bring anything with you when you were learning Windows. If you're coming from Mac OS, again, I would say the same thing. If you're learning Windows, leave Mac OS at the door. Leave Linux at the door. If you're going from Linux to Mac OS, the same thing. You're not going to have the same experience. It's not going to be the same thing. Some features are going to be missing. Some features are going to be there that you didn't know exist. Applications are designed per OS basis. That's how it's always been. If you're expecting AAC audio to work in DaVinci's Resolve Studio, you're completely insane. As simple as that. So why are you insane for thinking that, you may ask? Well, AAC is a proprietary licensed format, okay? Which companies would have to, how do I say this, license out individually to each company to be able to use. The reason it works on Windows and it works on Mac OS is because those operating systems have their own media foundations. Linux does not do this because it does not pay for this format. So don't expect it to be there. That's just not how things work. Instead, if you're coming to Linux, you're doing video editing, you're using DaVinci's Resolve Studio, I want to make this very, very simple and very, very clear, okay? See this? Go to output, go to recording, and switch to PCM audio. It's a lossless format. It's incredible. It's amazing. It's efficient. It's fast. It just works. You don't need anything else. And the best part is it's 24-bit versus AAC, which is just 16-bit. Okay? There's also ALAC, which is something that, Apple uses, which is also 24-bit, but you can also put PCM audio at 32-bit. Use PCM audio, always. You need to adapt to what you're given. That's the way the world works. If you don't adapt, you don't survive. So if you're not adapting, you're not surviving in Linux. I had to adapt to fully using Linux 24/7. I abandoned Windows. I've been on Linux ever since. And here's the thing. I needed a Photoshop replacement. So what did I do? I found one. It's called Affinity Photo. And it's actually starting up. Just got to give it a second. There it is. It does all the things Photoshop does and more, and it runs flawlessly on Linux. If you need an alternative for, say, that thing that Adobe does, the designer thing, I forget what it's called, you got as well Affinity Designer, or you can use Inkscape. Both of these things are perfect alternatives. Now look, I get it can be difficult to adapt to new situations. It's even more difficult if you don't go in wanting to learn. If you bring in what you want and know from Windows into this, you're going to be lost. You're going to be frustrated. You're going to be angry. You don't want that. The angrier you are, the less you're going to absorb information and knowledge. And that means you're going to end up going back to Windows instead of giving Linux a fair chance. It's another reason I do not recommend Linux Mint to anybody, is because it's so archaic, you're not actually learning Linux. You're learning what Linux once was. It's like a time capsule. Okay? And I've seen many people go over to Linux Mint, get extremely frustrated. There's tons of videos about it on YouTube. Complain, and go back to Windows. And the main reason is because Linux Mint is such an outdated system, it's got older dependencies, certain things don't work, certain things aren't made for it, and it's just basically Ubuntu but worse. Okay, Ubuntu but worse. Ubuntu is bad because of snaps. You get rid of the snaps, Ubuntu is an amazing distro. Mint doesn't have snaps, it's just bad, period. And I know I'm going to get ragged on for saying that, but you need to understand. When you come to Linux, would you rather use something new, modern, that is a Ferrari, or something that is a dinosaur that is turning into oil to once again be dug up a few million years from now and be used in your car? I would rather have fast and efficiency, security, bug fixes galore, and I understand many updates per day can scare a person, but what you need to understand is those updates are there to fix your bugs. They're there to keep you in a stable environment. Sometimes updates go wrong, even on older distros, newer distros, and distros in between. There's not ever going to be a time when you're not going to be not having, I'm not explaining this right. Stability, even on Windows, is a roll of the dice. Mac OS and Linux, it's a roll of the dice. By the way, Tony, I know you're watching this and you're like, God damn it, put your hands on the desk. I do this for you, my bud. I do this for you. Yes, I do. That was weird saying that. So if you're expecting 100% stability all the time, you don't get that on Windows. You get blue screens of death, crashes all the time. Windows is not perfect. Mac OS is not perfect. I get crashes from time to time on iOS. My son is constantly complaining about crashes and apps instability on Android. This is just the way that operating systems work, whether they're in beta, alpha, whatnot. You'll always get instability. Remember that. So, go into Linux with a fresh, open mind, willing to learn with patience. Leave everything you expect from Windows, everything you know from Windows at the door. Okay? That way you give Linux a fair chance. You use Fedora, you use OpenSUSE if you need to. You use CachyOS, Nobara, Pikaos. Okay, use normal Arch Linux. These are all great starting points. Okay, the only person that's stopping you is you. I get something may be scary, but again, who's in your way? You are. Your way of thinking is stopping you from achieving your goals. You're saying, I can't. You're basically just making that choice that you can't. Don't say I can't. Just say, I'm going to try it. I'm going to read up on it. It's going to be frustrating. But in the end, you're going to feel the most overwhelming sense of joy once you finally complete your goal. So, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to jump into Linux? Are you fully going to give it a fair chance? Or are you going to jump into Linux, complain, cry about things that you have in Windows that you don't have in Linux, and then basically saying, I'm still going to use it anyway, but you're doing it because PewDiePie did it? No, I want you to do it because you want to do it. Okay? It's as simple as that. Remember, go into this with your heart and your soul open and ready. Because believe it or not, your computer at this point is an extension of you. And you put your all into your everyday life and activities to do the same thing for this. We all had to learn everything at one point. Life is a constant lesson. Am I just like rehashing old mantras at this point? I don't know, you tell me. Subscribe. We got a huge playlist in the description below. It basically goes everything you need to learn about Linux gaming, content creation, and more. We also do kick-ass live streams as well every once and again. There should be another one tomorrow. I don't know when or what time, but you'll get notified on Discord. So join my Discord, have some chats, talk it up, do whatever you need to do. If you want to have a way to support me, you can do so by becoming a member on YouTube or donating directly using Ko-Fi. Or Ko-Fi also has monthly donations, you know, so there's that. And for you Canadians out there, there's email interact as well. All that's in the description along with my specs. And remember, Arch Linux, Nobara, CachyOS, Pikaos, Fedora. Okay? Oh, and OpenSUSE if you're feeling really weird. I do not whatsoever recommend Bazite due to how buggy and inconsistent it is and how it basically traps you. But if you want something that is immutable, you try CachyOS handheld. I think that's immutable. I'm not really sure, but it's a really, really good start.